Okay, and welcome to the Articulate Outburst podcast. A bit of sadness tinged with this one. This is the last track on the first album, UNSAFE SPACES, and it's been quite a ride from banging on my pal's table over almost 5 years ago to songs that we'd written then, such as Social Media, which didn't make the album, and Outcast, which when the band thought it might be doing a different genre of music, to Here, which is not the pinnacle of the album by a long straw, but this opens the door onto the second album, which is moving more towards a dystopian future. Obviously, we've gone through Woke, we've gone through Clown World, we've gone through pretty much the last 5 years, for my money, of just absolute nonsense in schools, HR departments, politics, what can only, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. So obviously UNSAFE SPACES was the kind of battering down the door. This is what we're all about. Here are the issues for us. These are mental. These are acerbic and absolutely banging down the door lyrics for what is effectively a debut album. And the second album, as you're going to find out as time goes on, is a lot more nuanced, a lot more dystopian. I think we've matured musically. I think we've become something completely unrecognisable from how we started off, although anybody out there is pretty much the start of the album and pretty much the end of it as well, because it is quite a dystopian song, that. So I think we've gone through the chapters of 2018, 2019, 2020. We've stayed clear of the COVID narrative for obvious reasons. I think there's still a lot of censorship out there. I think people can get the wrong end of the stick. I don't think there's many people out there now that don't realise that perhaps somebody took advantage of what was not particularly a dangerous situation, and certainly advanced a lot of power and control as a result of it globally as well. I think there's not one person that can look back and think no, matters seem to rise pretty quickly, and processes are in place for the future that don't seem to be being wheeled back. But that's inevitable. That never happens. So we're here at the end of the album, the last track on the album, which is One More Camera. This is one from me. Obviously, when in the 80s, when somebody suggested a camera would go up and we were becoming a surveillance society, they were hell to pay. And now they're on doorbells, they're in cars, the camera stacks at junctions, you can't really move. What I find interesting in central London, with violent crime on the rise, despite the rising cameras, don't seem to be acting as a deterrent. We just seem to be watching people go about their everyday business. I don't seem to think there's a vast improvement in this. I'm sure there's some people in offices that across the country sat there with their hats on and their glasses, nosying, poking into people's lives. This, 30, 40 years ago, this would have been a massive intrusion. You wouldn't have got away with it. And then all of a sudden, there were one camera. And you said, well, what's that for? Well, that's for traffic flow, because that junction's problematic. We need to know when to change the traffic light sequence. Everything seemed to make sense. And then within a week, there were another camera pointing in the opposite direction. And all of a sudden, well, hang on, what's that for? Oh, well, to see if the blockage is cleared. And that's what this song's all about. One more camera. If someone had said we want 6 million to 12 million cameras in the UK by the year 2023, we'd have just gone absolutely ape. But if it's just one more camera, gradual mission creep, just one here, just one there, someone's hiding in my blind spot, we need another camera. And obviously the cost of these things has come down dramatically, and the quality of the imagery has gone up. I mean, there's facial recognition, which I think will be coming in. Obviously number plate recognition, we know this from your speeding offences. If you decide to transgress a bloody bus lane. And it's this kind of one more camera. And I think I'm only the only one banging the drum about this. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that everything we do, even normal people going about the normal day, is being recorded. I just don't think it's worthwhile. It's like an awful lot of effort, because 99.9% of the people in this country are law-abiding, good people. Yet we're using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Again, I think it's lazy police work. I think it's dead easy for them to say, this is the image, here we go, off you go. Can't help thinking it's come at an awful cost to the rest of us. And to the point where people are buying doorbell cameras, we're actually joining in on this. I think now at latest police appeals are, have you got doorbell or dash cam footage? And I think the terrible rape of that lady in, I think it was London, by that police officer. A lot of that evidence was on people's dash cams, a lot of it. that had captured the arrest or captured the fake arrest, and so on and so forth. So one more camera is pretty much how I think that this has got us into this situation. Again, last song on the album, so it's tinged with a little bit of sadness, but it's opening the door to album 2, which is Heroes and Bad Actors. That was Snowflake, not One More Camera. So I'll make no further ado. As I say, I'm going to go through this and discuss it as we go. I'll try to get it on the old Marshall. I think I've told everybody, if you don't know by now, I'm using a Marshall amp. Now, there we are.
An ITVX exclusive.
Not having a lot of luck today because it's on the SoundCloud. They keep giving me the odd bloody advert, and this is not really what I'm after. I'm after our songs, and because it's on my bloody iPhone, it's not exactly easy. Right, okay, final time, here we go. And again, a typical Articulate Outburst start there. Engine room of the rhythm guitar going for it, and the overlay of the director's lead guitar on there. Absolutely, again, very minimalist is that lead guitar, but it says so much with very little. But yeah, great intro, and then we're into it. And that plays into what would have happened in a control room. What's going on down there? We can't see and they can't see. They're hiding in my blind spot. They can't see, we can't see. So again, the double-barreled kind of chants in the background. Pub rock and roll, as some people describe it. And that's pretty much where we're at there. They're hiding in my blind spot. They can't see, we can't see. They must be up to something. This assumption that you're always up to no good by those that want to be seen to be in control really irks me. I've got a great idea for the video for this, but I'm not going to divulge it now until it's more of a reality. And then innocence is just a theory, I think is a great finishing line, because that's the kind of policy that people are advancing this with. Innocence is just a theory. Let's see what they're up to. It's that nosy Parker-ness in it on steroids. And then we're into, well, the verses and the choruses here are really mixed up. So some people argue this is a verse, this is a chorus. I think that this is a chorus, but the band think it's a verse, but neither way, very dystopian. So there you go, nobody saw this coming, we know now that it's here. Nobody saw this coming, we must express our fear. Nobody saw this coming, we had no foresight. Nobody saw this coming, it didn't happen overnight. And that kind of encapsulates this song. Great opening. And that really wanted to be a little bit eerier. I tried to kind of go into as near to Tom York as I could get, but my vocal range is very, very limited. I'm sure you can tell it's more of a growl. So to try to get me into that slightly higher frequency was an impossibility. I think we've got as near as we can with that. And then it's one more camera, one more camera, one more camera, that's all they need. So again, people would say this is the chorus, but it's more of the football chant that backs up the previous section for me, but we are where we are. And there we go, one more camera, one more camera, one more camera, that's all I need. One more camera, one more camera, one more camera, that's all you need. When we were practicing this, the director on lead guitar used to think it was some kind of African chant of a wampa camera, which is amusing to this day. He don't pick up on stuff on the immediate. He knows what the rhythms are and he knows where his bits are, but he don't quite know some of the subtleties of the song. So it took a while for him to get the one more camera. But again, it comes in with the backing vocals quite well, it has to be said, as does the unknown on bass. A lot of the backing vocals on this are his. And then they have to feed to get this idea that there's a necessity attached to this for the people that are using it, almost like it's feeding them. I just think it's quite spooky, but on we go. And there we go, it's not about protection. I really don't believe it is. I mean, that's how it was tabled. I think most people think now it's not about protection. It is about surveillance. It is all about control. And then the mapping all your souls. Well, given the tracking information on my phone, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big user of social media, just if I'm just looking. And that I'm aware that the location devices on this phone pretty much tell everybody where I am, everybody what I'm doing, and I'm sure that in the future, the dystopian future, that will be linked to the camera network. Can't help thinking that A plus B equals C at some point, because they can literally pinpoint you. We've got, one of the things on here we've got is a Find Our Friends app. So I know where all my pals are at any time. Obviously you can turn that off if you're doing something you don't want them to know about. But that's not that at our age, you don't get up to no good anymore. But anyway, so I'm aware of this creeping kind of surveillance. I think I don't know where it's going to end up. Probably something like, we've had dystopian future films, Blade Runner 2049 probably. Either way, on with the song. And that's back into the dystopian kind of weird kind of song of nobody saw this coming.
Nobody saw this coming, we must express our fear. Nobody saw this coming, we had no foresight. Nobody saw this coming, it happened overnight. That's all I need. That's all you need. That's all we need.
And a slightly elongated I'll come back to that at the end because it's an extended version of that, because then it goes back into the start again, which is what's going on down there, we can't see, they can't see, etc. So again, reinforcing the first line, recycling some of the lyrics as well. And I think it's about this part in the song where I start to actually express myself as in a kind of, rather than just pub chanting the lyrics, it didn't happen overnight. I kind of started to I started to find my voice towards the end of the album with a little bit more expression. Certainly when you come to see us live, you'll see that. I've kind of backfilled it to other tracks where it's a little bit more expression rather than just chanting out a lyric from a football terrace. As I said, we've all moved on musically. Some of the new stuff, Sandstorm, 1984, sounds a bit corny, but I think we've got that one. Blue Check Marks, Obstacles in My Way. These are all up-and-coming songs, a lot more nuanced, a little bit more adult, dare I say it, than perhaps we have been. A little bit more subtle with the lyrics. Musically a lot better, but you can see from this song where we were heading.
That's all I need.
And you can see how that tails off at the end. Again, another Articulate Outburst, big finish. So yeah, so what that song I think has got the one more camera bit, so the punky bit, the nobody saw this coming, was the kind of dystopian bit, which is kind of mixing up towards the end of the album, exactly where this is going to go into album 2. So the second album, which I won't go on too much about, is Heroes and Bad Actors. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, that's the end of the official end of UNSAFE Spaces. It's only officially ended there. There is a surprise on the album. I'll do that on a separate stream. But for now, thanks very much for listening. Again, share the video as much as possible. If you could subscribe on the bell to get all notifications, that'd be great. And join us in the next one, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.